Right, it's time to get into the papers now. Let's let the world know what the headlines are saying this morning. And we have, as usual, one of our regulars, leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John. Dr. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Have we seen this year yet?
No,
okay, I can still say Happy New Year.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
But the year feels old already.
Yeah, it's old. It's 1 week old. So, but it's fine. 1 week old, maybe it's still new.
It's still new.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
it's good. All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper. Will protest if IG remains in office after January 15. Opposition parties are saying that. Now, two things. The IG, by law, his official tenure ended on the 3rd of January. And by the 15th, he will clock the mandatory 60 years.
Yes.
So, by any way, opposition is saying he should leave by the end of 15th of January.
January 15,
Yes.
yeah.
If you look at what has been happening over time, it's not necessarily because the outcry is not as a product of the fact that the president does not have the power to extend at any point in time. The thing has always been that there's a distrust or a mistrust between the police system as we operate it now and the general populace. So when they've been crying as to whether this the current IG has the capacity to organize a free and fair election. Now the problem is not even totally with INEC. Over time, because of the experience, even of PDP when they were in power, because of the kind of rascality many of them displayed, they are now very, very afraid. So the major challenge we have now is with our security apparatus, not necessarily with INEC. So it's a product of mistrust here and there, necessarily with INEC. So it's a product of mistrust here and there.
Okay. Hoodlums set fire to houses, shops in Ibadan. Police arrest 11. Well, this is from what they call 1 Million Boys. I think that's the name of the group.
Of the
in
group,
Ibadan.
yeah.
You know, setting places ablaze and all of that. And we understand the Olubadan has called a meeting, or an emergency meeting of the mortgagees as well as the ballets.
You see, the major problem we have in this country is that these guys are not new. We often just leave them to grow until we tackle them, until they become something of a national concern.
And now they've given themselves a name.
So this is another thing within the Southwest. Right. We are battling with Boko Haram in the Northeast. We are battling with some boys in the South. We have the South issues here and there. And now we're having another one in Ibadan. It's quite unfortunate. And that's why...
One of the troubling headline here, following what you are saying, is a militant blow-up corner facility in Bayelsa. They call themselves the Kolwama Seven Brothers.
Seven Brothers. This is what I'm saying. The government will just allow you to first. That's why when...
And they say it's just a warning shot.
Yes, that's why when... It may sound somehow, but that's why when a Dino Melai, for example, is invited and he didn't go, if you have up to a truckload of policemen in his house, that's why some people are like concerned that you do not need a truckload, because there are issues here and there in the nation that we need this men for. If we have 150,000, if we have about 50,000, I've forgotten the figure, of our policemen guiding and guarding VIPs here and there, and we have some of these issues. Now, in a country of about over 180 million people, we have about 300,000 police officers, yet half of them are guarding some of these. We need to restructure our system, our policing system.
Okay.
Ebonyi, not part of Biafra. Governor Umahi is saying this. I guess he's saying this in response to there was a roadmap to Nnamdi Kanu's plan for the southeast, as well as Benue, as well as Kogi and Cross River. And you know, he had plans for all of those. But it's okay.
I like the fact that you call it Nnamdi Kanu's plan, because how else do you want us to call it?
Yeah, but
that's what it is.
Many of the stakeholders are actually distancing themselves from it, but that does not mean that many of the politicians are not running to them at night, because either we like it or not, these people still control a large number of the youth populace in that zone.
In other words, they believe in the ideology.
Of course, but they cannot come out openly to say it.
All right, let me take the last one. The audio, disquiet in APC over alleged Amechi's anti-Buhari comments. I guess you that listened to that controversial...
Okay. All right, moving on to The Nation. Headline is Oshibajo, Buhari needs new term to consolidate his feats. VP takes campaign to Okeogun. All right, he's saying that this coming election is for progress. We've already seen it, but we're not cautious. But if we're not cautious, we may be drawn back, but God forbid. The next level of change is to lift everyone from poverty and provide more infrastructural development.
I like the fact, because one of the one of the units or component of change is for you to continue to give people hope of what you are doing. So I like that fact. But again, I would like to say that we do not necessarily need to go slow at this point in time. If I'm going to trust Buhari with my vote now, it's a vote of radical change. Because the way we are now, our problem is becoming more problematic. Well, and we need to be more strategic in getting solutions, not
President Buhari has promised that change will actually come if he gets another term.
I hope so.
Of 4 years. Diezani, EFCC submits documents on extradition. Properties raised as hoodlums attack Ibadan community. E-payments hit 56 trillion naira. Of course, Southeast governors advise military on Python Downs 3. Raw gets Nations Cup target. Okay. Row over INEC commissioner rage. It rages on. Okay, now this Dr. Amina Zakari's issue is not going away anytime soon.
It's not going away.
Yes.
Yes. And you see, ideally...
But does it really matter? Look at it this way. She was appointed, I mean, her being with the INEC as a staff of INEC predates President Buhari's tenure.
Yes.
Should you say then that because, President Buhari has some kind of relationship, whether blood
or link or
that she should
that undermines her qualification.
No, that does not. But again, if there are some sensitive assignment, if you're given a sensitive assignment and the other people at the other side feel that this may not necessarily bring justice at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong if you voluntarily, it's not a matter of law, it's a matter of logic that if you voluntarily think that, the acceptance is very low, that you want to take a bow.
Well,
but
INEC
again,
is saying,
politicians may continue to take advantage of that and raise unnecessary issues over on issues that are not main issues.
So it's about being fair and be seen to be
fair.
Okay, it's all right. Okay.
Okay, well, INEC has been saying that, her role has nothing, no technical input whatsoever.
More so that one person cannot even sit in Abuja
determine the outcome of
change
the election.
You
okay, that's
understand?
it from the Nation.
All right.
Moving on.
The Daily Sun is our next paper now. Leaked tape, Nigerians hungry. Mechi, I am not aware of any recording. Nigerians now know APC's lies, deception, as the PDP is saying that. All right, this so-called audio leaked circulated during the week on social media, quoting, and it was alleged that the Minister of Transport said a lot of things about Nigerians being hungry, farmers being hungry, and all of that. But
the question is it strong enough to actually dent the fortunes of the APC? I mean, when the DG of that campaign is set to have...
doesn't believe in
the
government.
You see the
that
problem...
is if it is his voice.
Yes, the problem is not even whether APC image is to be dented or cannot be dented. The issue is that majority of those people supported President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015, many of them are not with him again. But that does not mean that they went to PDP. PDP, to many of these people, is not an alternative. And that's why I said the other time that a product can be good and not be marketable. It is PDP is good because it has structure, the largest structure, even more than APC. But marketability is the issue.
So are you saying...
This is not about the PDP now. This is not about the PDP. It is
I only talked about
it. It is what a top... party member has said, the DG of the campaign is quoted to have said, not quoted.
A senior member of the cabinet.
See, he's going to, there's no doubt about the fact that he's going to sway the opinion of so many people. But what I'm saying is that it may not necessarily affect the outcome of the election because those people who are wise and logical enough to allow such a recording to sway their feeling will not go to PDP. They will rather go to some of the parties.
But the point there is, if this audio is anything to go by, it tells you the innermost mind of the person who is alleged to have said it.
Sir.
If that is his mind, his innermost mind, truly his mind. Now, he is not alone. There are other people like that. So are you saying that there are some elements within the system that could likely bring the party down from within?
Sir, many of the people you see in the party, majority of them, I'm being objective. Majority of them are doing so because they are protecting their future, not necessarily because they are protecting the future of Nigeria. And with or without the recording, People are hungry. This is what the people in authority need to know.
All right.
People are hungry.
All right, let's move on now. Zamfara banditry linked to Boko Haram. Defense Minister says insurgents desperate for safe place in Northwest. All right, and armed soldiers shot Daily Trust arrest editor, reporter, and federal government orders military to vacate offices. The mayhem in Ibadan, 20 houses, 30 shops destroyed as hoodlums clash. Police arrest 11. And strike, federal government resumes negotiations with ASU and Labour today. We expect that meeting to hold later on today.
Moving on very quickly to the Vanguard. That's my next paper this morning. We're waiting for presidency on retirement of IGP. That's Police Service Commission official speaking.
Please,
there.
Who's the presidency? Okay.
Oh. Apologies to former SGF. Okay, Idris' time is up. He must go. No praying. COP directs member parties to prepare for mass protest January 15. They are saying, come January 15, if the IG is still the IG, then they will go to the streets and protest his continued retention.
But instead of going to the streets, why not think of going to court?
Well, are you there, concerned?
I'm not there.
Okay, you're not.
Not.
All right.
I'm just looking at you know, protests and all of that.
I guess January 15 will decide, what direction we're going next. Confusion over oil pipeline bombing in Bayelsa. Of course, the Koloma 7 brothers said to have bombed Cornell, pipeline. On the other hand, there were reports that no such thing happened.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why the Vanguard reports it as, confusion anyhow. Masri, PDP tango over insecurity in Katsina. Of course, Masri has been, complaining, saying that, look, we are under siege. We're echoing what the other governor in Zamfara too said, where he actually said he's in support of a state of emergency.
I think we should commend some of these governors that are bold enough, irrespective of the political party, to actually come out to say that this is the reality.
Yeah.
It shows that if these people do not come out, we may not get to know the reality of event. There are places under the control of Boko Haram. And I'm not talking about places that were seized just of recent. There have been places, but people will come out to lie.
But the point is, on the other hand, when a governor of a state comes out to make a statement of saying, okay, we are not safe and all of that. What message does that send?
We're under siege, and as a matter of fact, we're in support of
helplessness.
So the point is, how do you galvanize inspiration? How do you lead the people right in that regard?
When military turn their back to Boko Haram and run for safety, what message is that one sending?
Okay.
Insecurity.
All right. Now that story of whether there's any occupation by the Boko Haram of any territory in Nigeria seems to have led to the storming of the offices of the Daily Trust. Outrage greets closure of Daily Trust offices in Abuja and Borno. FG orders army to quit premises. Okay. Is it possible that the soldiers who carried out this siege, another siege again, may have been reading some kind of body language? Well, thankfully, the president, the federal government has said the army should, quit the premises of
maybe
the
the president
Trust.
said so because ideally, I'm sure he may not be aware. Maybe he's not aware that thing is going to happen. That's not an offense if the president is not aware of that.
But is that an excuse?
There's a system. There's a system ordinarily. With or without the president, there should be a system. Because
a system that permits such a thing to happen?
No, it is not a product of whether the system permits it. There's a system in the military.
Yeah,
but whether the system allows for abuse of human rights is another thing entirely.
The military
What we have
is
now,
system.
the military is a system. So they may not necessarily wait for the president to take some of this action. But what we are frowning at is the fact that human rights abuses like this should be discouraged. Either whether you are talking about the military system, the police system, or any system
or any
at
other
all.
system for that matter. Now, you remember the president said, well, I am not slow, it is a system that is slow.
It's a system that's slow,
Exactly.
but who drives the system?
Yeah, so those are the questions we're asking. But the point there is, another person would say it is the mode to which this is carried out. Because the point there is, how do you decipher, or how do you determine the difference, or how do you reconcile the difference between when there's a freedom of the press or the freedom of expression, and when you're divulging information that are because to national,
very vital information,
national security. So these are the issues.
But if let's assume that Daily Trust actually, did not use its discretion in putting out information that really should not be out there. Is this the best way to go about
Exactly.
it? On the
Because
Because
that's
at
what
the end
it's
of
the
day,
mode.
The
mode.
information still went to the public domain. At the end of the day, a Daily Trust is in the newsstand this morning.
One more
I've seen
action
it.
that makes this government look really bad, because a lot of people are now saying, yeah, what did we expect? I mean, the whole military, way of doing things, that after
It's still
all,
the
at the
same
time when this president was going to become president, we had our concerns that military thing,
It's
may
not
not
going to
have
go out,
left in.
anytime soon.
And it's even worse if our military cannot, because of lack of equipment and what you may call it, if they cannot deal decisively with Boko Haram and they are
And they're
pursuing
dealing with the
civilians
media.
all over the places. So
The
it's
military
worse.
is dealing with Boko Haram.
Yes.
With the latest videos released, it tells you that they are really on top of the game.
I thought
All right.
I thought we were going to talk about the picture. It's very funny.
Which one is that?
The one.
Oh yeah, the picture
The
of
bold one, of the President
of,
Muhammadu Buhari, and of course Governor of Ogun State,
and the governorship
and the
candidate of
governorship
the
candidate.
APM.
Yes, he has said Amosun has said whoever supports Buhari is supporting me, and as a matter of fact, is supporting my candidate. And what does this mean when he takes his candidate that belongs to the APM?
To an APC president.
You see,
Our
let me be.
democracy, obviously, maybe we're beginning to develop this homegrown democracy that we've been talking about. So it's evolving, it's an organic one, and it's taking us somewhere. Eventually, we'll get to find out exactly where it's taking us.
Some of these things have to be tested. The point there is, that's the beauty of this democracy. Whether it's going to be seen as an anti-party activity is another thing altogether. But all these things have to be tested. Remember at the time...
And we're testing it now.
Abga in Anambra State was said to have struck a kind of a deal where you can vote for Abga within the state,
but national level,
vote for PDP at the national level at that time.
But again, we need to be very careful. You see, I want to go a little bit into...
At that time.
But again, we need to be very careful. You see, I want to go a little bit into philosophy this morning. The phrase "let go" is actually created to swallow the word ego. Most of the times, if you do not let go, you are only displaying your ego. If, for example, you are a senatorial candidate of a political party in a particular state, and you are supporting yourself as a senatorial candidate of the party, and suddenly, because the things did not go your way, you are supporting another person for the governorship seat in the same state. Sometimes you continue to ask yourself, what's wrong with politicians?
Is there anything called party loyalty anymore?
And it's not just within one state.
All right, the Vanguard, let's end this one. War in NANS. Okay, it looks like all may not be well with the National Association of Nigerian Students. They seem to be,
NANS.
Okay, moving on.
NANS is wahala now.
NANS has never really had it smooth when it comes
the president of NANS uses E-Class Mercedes. And
that picture went viral a few days ago.
As a former student, President, I often tell people that for you to actually format the mindset of Nigeria, you start from the higher institution and you start from their government, the kind of government we run in higher institutions. Without that, everybody is just looking for what to chop.
It's okay. Well, let's move to the Punch newspaper now. Melaye will win February election even from prison. The PDP is saying that. Okay, well, that takes away the powers from the people now who decide with their votes at the polls, but it's okay.
Well, does it? There was the opportunity to actually recall the senator representing Kogi West, and his people that he represents, obviously did not believe there was a need to recall him. So maybe it is on that basis that the PDP is saying, look, even if you throw him in jail, the people believe in him so much that they will still vote for him.
The fact is that, forget all the SSs, I take responsibility for this. I prefer a Dino to represent me to the senator currently representing me. I prefer
that is your personal opinion.
That is my.
Why is that?
Because I have never seen him, not even one bill. I read about him lately. I was at home on Friday.
That is your senator.
That's my own senator. So I prefer a Dino who will display rascality in public and get to the
I'm
Senate
sure your
House.
senator has a name.
And of course it does.
Okay, but you choose not to.
No, his name is Senator Yelo Mogunwa. I prefer his Dino.
Well, that's your personal opinion. Anyway, Buhari's desperation for self-succession threat to national unity. Opposition party only afraid of imminent defeat. Kayamo is replying there. The APC put square pegs in round holes to destroy Nigeria's economy. Fashwa, ADP presidential candidate, is saying that. And President Nigerians elected missing in action. Ralph Ngosu, the ADC national chairman, is saying that. Okay, I wonder what that means. But general elections, economists, financial analysts warn against systemic risks. And 2019 battle for Ogun hots up as APM threatens ADC's chances. Okay. Well, we have almost the same issues in Ogun State, in Imo State.
Yes.
You know, there are similar issues.
Okay, and to the Daily Trust, that's our last paper this morning. Soldiers invade Daily Trust, arrest reporters, seal offices, impound computers. To what end? What exactly will this achieve, both for the soldiers and for the... It leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm happy
really.
that the news is actually making the front headline on Daily
Trust. Of the Daily Trust, but it's not making the headline
at the
of
end
other
of the
papers.
Day,
What does that say?
Daily Trust came out this morning at the end of the day. So whatever the people might have done, at least they were able to weather it and they did come out. So I'm really happy about that. But again, we need this spirit of solidarity.
I think there was over the weekend there was a spontaneous reaction from all over the place and all of that. But everyone still talks about the mode. The point there is, if it is true that Daily Trust, if you look at the laws and what the rules state, if Daily Trust has overshot its boundary, for instance, when it comes to releasing information that is seen to hurt national interest or national security, as the case may be, how should the military actually go about handling the issue? Because the publication is out that is alleged to the publication in question is out already. So if you're going to remedy it, how do you approach the issue? These are the issues. It's the approach that people are talking about. We're not saying the soldiers shouldn't or the military shouldn't approach Daily Trust and talk about the issues and all of that. But why should we get to the level where...
And the military, too, has to realize that, the media, as a fourth estate of the realm, would not in any way want to jeopardize national security. Sometimes you want to, jump and just put stories out there, especially when it comes to, this kind of sensitive matters. For the media, there's a need also to balance things up, and ensure that whatever stories are put out there don't, jeopardize national security.
I think it's still a problem of traditional tactics, really. And this is the way we've been doing it, and we want to continue to do it that way. I think we should be more technical so that we can have a different result.
Yeah. Where does this take us? We're making progress as far as military and media relations over the years. It's been a no love lost relationship.
Even with the police. Mike, you were in one of the programs I organized the other day, Police Youth Connect. The idea is just to keep bringing some of these people together so that we can...
All right, you know what? Publishers of Daily Trust newspapers have confirmed that the Abuja, Lagos and Maiduguri offices have been vacated by the Nigerian Army following a federal government order. And Garba Shehu, who is Senior Special Assistant on Media to President Buhari, Sunday night tweeted that the president ordered the military to vacate the premises, adding that the issues between the military and the newspaper as they affect the coverage of the war in the Northeast will be resolved through dialogue.
Yeah, the Daily Trust had reported that its Maiduguri regional office was shut down by security operatives on Sunday, and its editor Uthman Abubakar and reporter Ibrahim Sawab arrested. Later, the newspaper said its head office in Abuja was also invaded and computers carted away. In what appeared to be a coordinated operation, a little while later, the Lagos Bureau office was reportedly taken over by a combined team of military and police officers. All right, we're glad that that has been taken.
And maybe too, that explains why the Daily Trust was able to actually, come out on the stands this morning. It's a good one.
That intervention by the presidency.
The prompt response, very prompt one on the part of the...
It has to be commended, you understand. So I said it was a system that took action, and the person who heads the ultimate system is saying, no, let's go the other way.
But should heads roll, if one or two, should any head roll in this situation?
I think we should be waiting for the outcome of the dialogue.
The point there is, the government has said there's going to be a dialogue. So the semblance of dialogue doesn't seem like there's going to be any head roll because the military is only responding to what they feel wasn't right. So the point there is, it is the issue of warning each other, okay, fine, this is where you went wrong, and let us not do that anymore, and so on. I think it's still the spirit of
hopefully this will turn out to be good for
the society.
At the end of the day, because that is what both sides want, you know.
Dialogue is good. That's the
It
best
is.
way
It
to
will
go.
actually
Do we
be
have
helpful.
Sifon Essien right now standing by? Okay, all right, of course, our reporter, defense correspondent Sifon Essien is in Abuja. He'll be giving us information about these developments as time goes on. So, Dr. Now, moving on, will this signpost some kind of progress between the military and the media going forward? Because there seems to be this kind of mutual suspicion on both sides.
Is it even just the media? It is the military and civilian system as a whole. Because one there is the military and democracy. Because democracy is a makeup of all the different civilian institutions put together, political parties, media, civil society organization, all of that. So, but the military is aloof. It's a society of its own. It's a system of its own.
In its own world.
Yes, these are two parallel separate
lines
systems.
that don't meet.
Yes, but I think the intervention of the president or the directive will actually be able to douse any tension, and the dialogue will further cement the relations between the military and between the military community and the civil community. But again, like I did say the other time, when things like this happen, you must look for the best way to tackle it. That's where the issue of strategy comes in. Why some of the times why it may look as if we are losing the war against terror is not as a product of the fact that our men do not have the capacity. It's a product of strategy. Most of the times, it's a product. So we need to lay emphasis on technical strategy than traditional way of doing things. What we've had over time is that this is the way we have been prosecuting it, and we go all conventional way method.
One thing the Air Force is doing now that it seems really right. Let's say right in that way.
Giving results?
Yes. It has to do with releasing some of the information to the public. You've seen the videos of their operation and all of that. It has a way of, inspiring the civilians and even Nigerians generally that, okay, fine, the Nigerian Air Force is actually on top of their game.
And it seems it has to be a balancing act, for the military, on the one hand, to give the right kind of information that will engender confidence, on the part of the populace, and not, give a sense that, oh, this Boko Haram really seem to be having the upper hand.
The last two videos,
the issue of whether Baga is occupied by terrorists, it truly is a very sensitive one.
It is.
And if that were the case, would the military want to actually put that kind of information out? And if they did, what would it mean, for all the soldiers on the front line, in the battlefront?
You see, another thing that...
And for Nigeria's sense of security and sovereignty.
Another thing that I think actually affected the entire information system is, apart from the language, and the language of the people is not necessarily your dialect. It's just the kind of a thing that you will easily understand. Apart from the language, there's an issue of competition, which I believe has been resolved. Who takes the glory at the end of the day? Meanwhile, you can't compete and have result, because we have a common enemy as a country.
You're talking about the different security agencies.
Yes, within the armed forces. We have the army, the Air Force, and all that. So there must be a synergy. And the synergy is to produce results. Not necessarily, it was the Air Force that actually bombed this place and all that. So if we can work on the synergy, then in a few time, and we give them this some of these few things. This is the first time that I will hear in recent times that military people will be protesting. I've seen the video of some of them say, we do not even have the kind of weapons this guy have. Our welfare is even not there.
Yeah,
so if we tackle some of these things.
Where they even talking about soldiers on the war front are even talking about basic things like water and food.
Yeah.
We don't have water, we don't have food.
You actually saw really sad pictures of some soldiers, looking very weak and gaunt, like they've not. It's like pictures you'd see from the bad side of Ethiopia,
or even
Sudan.
pictures from movies.
Yeah.
Just to let you know these are not real. Because when you see the image of a soldier falling down because he's hungry or falling down because
hasn't had water
for you can only see that in
periods
movies.
of time. So is there a need for this actually to be investigated? Claims that the whatever is being budgeted for in the war against, terrorism, and for the military as a whole, is not going in the right direction. It's going into the wrong pockets.
Of course.
When Amnesty International and the other different, global organizations have said there is a need for, the federal government to check what is going on when it comes to funding in the military. The federal government seems to just wave it off.
You see, until we see that some of these things are not administration's problem, there's not a problem of President Muhammadu Buhari administration. It's a government problem in Nigeria.
All right,
starting from the state level.
Okay, Dr. Onjo, we have joining us on the phone the general manager of Daily Trust newspaper for Southwest, Kamaldeen Oladusu. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Latest reports now say that the federal government has ordered the military out of your premises. Can you confirm this for us?
They have. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Kamaldeen.
How are you?
Well, okay.
Yeah, it's true that they have ordered them, and I think they have left now. So we're about to normal business.
All right. When it comes to the issue of the relationship, we were discussing this earlier on, the relationship between the military and the media and all of that. One would say that publications like the one that was put out was one of the reasons why there's this friction. But talk to us about some analysts between yesterday and now have said that it seemed like Daily Trust went a little far when it comes to putting out information that would jeopardize national security. Talk to us about that.
I wouldn't know what people mean by we went too far. As a media organization, we have the duty to treat the people with the information in a responsible manner. So we are just doing our normal business. And I don't know, some people fight your first hot, but it won't be distracted. We still have to think this as it is. That's it, and that's what has made us achieve. So it's not a matter of going too far. If there's some people try to go too far, why can't they also do something that would not warranted us going too far?
Exactly what can you tell us, in terms of how the military carried on for the 5 hours that your premises was besieged in Abuja?
Well, I think if you read what was released, the picture and everything, everything about it, how they came, how they entered and they started cutting away computers, and they started from Maiduguri and in Abuja. Ordered our people to come down, and later they also came to our INEC office as well. You understand? The details is also on our platform for people to read. They came and disrupted our operation.
What about your reporters that are said to have been arrested? And of course, the wares that were impounded, like your computers and all of that, have those been released?
As I speak to the best of my knowledge, they are still with them, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Talk to us about the presidency has said there's going to be a dialogue between the military and Daily Trust newspapers. Can you make us understand what kind of dialogue and where and when is that supposed to commence? Where and when is that supposed to commence?
I think we should wait and see. That's what I can say for now. Let us wait and see. Let us wait and see.
How has this siege by the military or the sealing off of the offices in Borno, Lagos, and of course Abuja, how has it affected morale in the newspaper?
Well, maybe exactly when you say that we are not the top. In fact, it has made us to be stronger. Yeah, I don't think it has any. We are coming out stronger. That's the job we are determined to be doing. It do not affect us.
Well, one of the pressures, that media houses find themselves is to just, go out there, put out the news as quickly as possible, be the first to put it out, especially in this day of fake news and all of that. And of course, on the other hand, the war on terror. Are you concerned that some of the stories you put out may just jeopardize national security? How do you handle that?
Well, I don't think so. We have our mechanism to check whatever we do, and we try as much as possible to clarify what we do. You understand? Then even when somebody is feeling somehow, and this is democracy now, there are no boundaries at the end of the public. They can take us for this instead of impounding our premises.
All right.
So I don't think that's the best option.
Okay, Kamaldeen Oladosu, GM Daily Trust Newspapers, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Thank you. We wish you well. Yeah, Doctor.
Okay.
Now, the point there is, we saw Daily Trust is on the stand, like you said earlier on, which tells that it goes along with. But do you think this could affect or impact the level of circulation of the paper this morning?
Of course, and most importantly, the psyche of the workers.
Okay.
You can't, if you get to your office and you're not safe, I doubt whether that's going to have any positive impact on you. First is to talk about the psyche of the people, which has been badly affected by this. Unfortunately, if this had happened in other climes, those guys will go for some psychological distant here and there. Evaluation and all that. But that's not going to be done. But I expect them to put it as part of the demand during the dialogue. Now you take these people for some psychological evaluation so that the level of our productivity will not drop. It's not just about the circulation of today. It's about the level of productivity at the end of the day. Because if you are not feeling safe again to do your job, I doubt whether you want to do it wholeheartedly. And you know the way some of these guys work. Some of them will have to sleep in the office every day. Will they still continue after this incident? That's one question I think we should be asking.
Yeah, there has to be a lot of confidence building on the part of the military and on the part of the government as a whole, to ensure that the media does its job without any fear of being gagged.
Even in the nutshell, whatever the media does is for the ultimate good of government and people. So the way the engagement goes, it should matter, because if you engage well, you will get the best of results. If you engage badly, you will get the bad one as well.
Yes, indeed. Sifon Essien, our defense correspondent, is at the headquarters of the Daily Trust newspaper in Abuja. Good morning, Sifon. What do we need to know at this time?
Yeah, good morning. What we need to know is that yesterday night, after about 2-3 hours, the soldiers were directed to vacate the premises of Media Trust Limited. That's the massive building behind me, and they are now open for business this morning. I spoke to a couple of the security officials of the company in front, and they're in high spirit in spite of what has happened. And here I have a copy of one of their titles, Daily Trust, and the banner headline there says, soldiers invade Daily Trust, arrest reporters, seal offices, impound computers. This indicates that in spite of what happened across their locations yesterday, they were still able to publish.
All right, that's interesting to know. About two reporters, one of the editors and reporters were said to have been arrested from a degree office. Can you confirm, because you are also within the defense circle, is there any information that they have been released?
Yes, two of their staff were taken, particularly in the original office in Maiduguri yesterday. And as I speak at the moment, they've not been released. We're told that here in Abuja, production staff was taken but was subsequently released, following the intervention of the authorities in the matter. That's the much that we have at the moment.
And we hear about this dialogue that is to take place between the military authorities and, of course, Daily Trust. What do we expect out of this dialogue?
Well, we expect a resolution. The statements from the Army headquarters signed by the spokesman of the Nigerian Army indicates that they will dialogue, as you have said, to find common ground on the matter. Remember, the statement also indicated the reason for which the operation was carried out against the newspaper, and the belief that dialogue would be the way to go. That was also confirmed by one of the spokesmen to the president, that they will sit down together and find a common ground, perhaps have an understanding on the situation, what to publish, what constitutes national security and what constitutes public interest.
All right, is it clear when this dialogue is going to take place?
Well, I believe the dialogue started yesterday because after the clampdown, the management of this company met to discuss what had happened and the way forward, and calls were made to high places, unquote, and which resulted in the directive that the office should be vacated, or the soldiers should vacate the office. I think that was the beginning of the dialogue. More talks, I believe, would happen today to straighten out gray areas.
Well, of course, generally, the army has been calling on the media as a whole to, support the war against insurgency and, try to apply some level of discretion in putting out stories there. What kind of support really, is the army or the military asking from the media?
Well, in that statement, they made it clear that the nature of the kind of support they want. Basically, they don't want published classified information, and also suggesting that it could undermine the operations in the northeast and in any other part of the country. Those are the kinds of support from that statement that we can understand that they require, and that's the much we can glean from that statement. I repeat. And but in the days to come, we'll get to understand what other areas the military indeed would require support from the media.
All right, Sifon, what can you say about or how would you assess the cordial relationship between the military and the media in general? At least you've been working with them as well, and you have heard a lot of things too.
Well, I didn't quite hear that question, but in case you're talking about the relationship between the media and the press, it's as good as it has always been. From time to time, there's usually one hitch or the other, largely coming from the side of the military when they feel that particular media outlets are siding. That's the word they like to use, siding with the enemies, to undermine the national security. But you also understand that the media operates within a society, and members of the media are drawn from the society and are accountable to the society. But media, military relations, it's a big subject matter that from time to time parties involved would have to sit time and again and look at the books and look at what works and what should be straightened out if it wasn't working very well.
But of course, the bone of contention here is the alleged occupation of Baga and some other places in the northeast and, of course, northwest by the Boko Haram. As a reporter, defense correspondent, you've been, reporting on the activities of the military for quite a while now. What are you able to say in terms of the true picture of things as far as Baga, Damasak, Metele, and all the places are concerned?
The fact that those areas were attacked by insurgents with affiliation to ISIS is not in doubt. The fact that troops were attacked is not in doubt. But the issue now is that the military authorities is now rising up to the occasion for an offensive to take back whatever swathe of land the insurgents may have stepped their foot on, or sent those members of those communities packing, as it appears. We saw yesterday a video released by the Air Force indicating an attack by a Nigerian Air Force helicopter on locations where the insurgents were identified in areas close to Damasak, where a couple of days back the Air Force lost 5 of its operatives in action.
Okay.
These operations
All right.
are ongoing.
Sifon Essien, our defense correspondent there, thank you very much for your insights and giving us the situation report with the Daily Trust premises there in Abuja. Yeah. And of course, Dr. Ojon, thank you very much for your time, as usual, every Monday.
Thank you, Dr.
You're welcome.